Time to review some of the day's dailies today to bring you up to speed with the stories making the headlines. We'll begin with the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. Here are some of the stories you can follow. Communication blackout hits Gaza as Israel deepens southern offensive. And the continuation of this military action has apparently, amplified the angry voices around this whole Israel-Palestine war. Fact check: ex-governor Aliyu didn't chase Boko Haram's Shekau Kaka out of Niger State. Yes, the former governor was trying to take credit for some of that, but according to this fact check, you will find details of how that is not necessarily what happened. Nigeria records 1.8 trillion naira surplus as foreign trade jumps by 60.7%. The big headline is, of course, talking about that unfortunate incident in Kaduna as army drone kills dozens of maulud celebrants in Kaduna. Survivors say second bomb killed more people during the rescue. Make of that what you will, because clearly, if the first one was an error, the second one was definitely, targeted strike. We buried 94. Some mutilated, conveyed 66 to hospitals, according to residents. JNI, that is Jamaatul Nasr Islam, Fitnianu, community leaders seek compensation. Military and the Kaduna State government are saying incident is unfortunate. I think that goes without saying. And these are some of the pictures you can see of some of the survivors, relatives, and people affected by the attack at a hospital in Kaduna. And just below that, you have an infographic that details the series of attacks that all have been linked to incidental discharge by the Nigerian Army or the Air Force from March 16, 2014 to date. The numbers are quite staggering. Some multiple errors that led to the death of persons, within days. For instance, in Niger and in Nasarawa, January 24th, 25th, and in different parts of the country as well. So that will give you a comprehensive outlook of what this problem of incompetence is all about. Bandits collect 6 million naira as part of payment, free FCT's chief's wife. Why Nigeria's penal code remains unreformed 65 years after. And finally, on some politics, NNPP disowns members denigrating Kwankwaso and Kano State governor.
All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper there. The major story says, despite 4 million out-of-school children, Kano, Sokoto and others spend about 53.2 billion naira on scholarship abroad. There is, of course, the usual of how this is dissected or divided here in the Guardian newspaper, so you can pick up a copy and read that. Beside that, we have protest in Unicab over 100% hike in fees and levies. Police in Rivers detain 4 officers over kidnapped of hotel staff. Over 80 dead as army admits error in 10th as accidental bombing in 2 years. We have Tinubu faces fresh legal hurdle at Supreme Court. NBS, only about 1.5% of households affected by 2022 floods received the government support. Anti-Torture Act, not for savage security operatives, but for the suspects. Now, these are some of the stories on the Guardian newspaper this morning. And joining us to review the front pages is Dr. Theophilus. He is the program director of Daily Trust Foundation. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Again? I'm here again.
Right, exactly.
Thank you for enduring me.
Apparently.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's start with this. We want to hear your take on exactly what happened, about the accidental, situation that happened in Kaduna State. What's your take on it, Doctor? A really sad situation.
Well, it's quite sad, very, very sad, because this has happened too often. If you look at the infograph, it shows the series of wrong bombing, mistaken bombings. What makes this a bit different is the fact that a new strategy by the military to deal with the state of insecurity is also joining the queue. You know, this was by the drone, the army's drone. And you know, the drone is controlled. You know, it's unlike the Air Force bombing, you know, where you see a plane and, you know, the drone is a control center where the drone is, maybe set, you know, at a target to go and hit a particular target. And it has helped. Let me say that, because on many occasions they've got it right, or they had got it right. You know, attacking bandits, attacking terrorists, different locations. So most times when you hear about bandits or terrorists being bombed or being attacked, you know, or you hear about Air Force, jet, you know, most time in recent time it's not the Air Force, you know, it's actually from the military central command, and that has really reduced a major casualties among our military personnel. Because they don't so you know, initially we thought it was the Air Force bomb. You know, it wasn't the Air Force. It was the Army's own drone. You know, so what I want to say that there's a kind of a positive development, you know, in the use of these drones. But the problem that we've had, and if you listen to the military, I'm not actually different, if you listen to them, is the fact that some terrorists, you know, you see them embedded in communities. I give an example of what happened in, I think that was in Buhari village in Yobe State. That was about 2 years ago. You know, when the Air Force bombed the village, killed many villagers, dismembered, like what happened here, we asked them what happened. They said, well, we heard that there was Boko Haram, you know, they were meeting there, and then we did this attack. And that community up to today, you know, up to today, I don't know whether it changed yesterday, but until recently, is seen as a Boko Haram enclave. That is the problem that we have. So you see, I will encourage that even though the army, you know, they are doing a whole lot to contain bandits, terrorists, there must be a measure of precision. Yeah, that's what I want to drive at. You know, the drones are being used to effectively, tackle these bandits. But you have to be very, very sure, very, very sure, so that this kind of collateral damages will not continue to occur. Because generally, there's no way you can justify the fact that over 90 persons, I think the African said about 90 persons, the others injured, you know, and then we cannot say these guys were bandits. We can't say that, you know. So if you miss the bandits, what happened? You have to go back to the drawing board to review what happened. Now, what we know is that there are times, you know, you get intelligence report, not correct intelligence. Maybe, some person, so it's misleading intelligence. You tell you, so and so things happening at so and so place. And if you don't take your time to check and cross-check, you know, you may discover that if it's even the enemies that give that intelligence information, you find yourself attacking the wrong people. You know, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. Inside of the fact that the use of drones has actually helped, but then there's a whole lot of work so that there must be measure of precision in dealing with this
Is it safe to say, Doctor, that from what we've had, especially looking at this infographic from 2014 to date, that there is some sense that because the military does not apply punitive measures in a way that the public can appreciate it, all of these incidents continue to happen over and over again, because it does look like there is no accountability whatsoever. I mean, going back to the drawing board is all well and good, but Nigerians are asking and saying, listen, we've lost family members, we've lost relatives, innocent, who have not done anything wrong. And what about the people who call the shots? We understand that the stakes are high and all of that, but that's where due diligence comes in. Make sure you tick all the boxes before you give the green light. And apparently, from 2014 to date, we haven't learned anything because the mistakes are one too many.
Well, I think we cannot conclude that we have not learned anything. You know, because when things like this happen, we are told that it was unfortunate, but I definitely the military investigate. And when they investigate, those who are found guilty, those who are found wanting, they will actually, get punished. Maybe they don't come to tell us in the open. But I know that the military will not just say, okay, these people have been killed, so be it. No, there must be an investigation. Maybe what we should advocate is that if some officers who erred are punished, there should be a measure of publicity. But then we don't know, the military, they have their own, ways of doing things.
Publicize the court-martial of mutineers, army officers who kill their fellow officers on the battlefield.
I'm thinking that if we...
I don't know, maybe you have some information that we don't, from 2014 today. Is there any military official that has been punished for any of this?
Well, I think if we deliberately, investigate, it's most likely that something like that has happened. Because every time that this kind of a thing happens, even though they will not come out to tell you that, oh, we have punished somebody, there must be an investigation. You say, what happened? That question has to be answered. Who did what? That question has to be answered. I don't think that the military will be so careless to say, okay, this has happened, people have died, so let's go to bed. No. What I'm feeling is that maybe when they do so, it is good for Nigerians to know that, look, so number of persons have been punished for this kind of thing that happened. So Nigerians now know they are not just thinking that we are not human beings, So I'm feeling that, is it maybe because I know that the military, our soldiers are doing a lot of difficult jobs. You understand? It's a very difficult thing. If you know, if you have brothers or sisters in the military, I know the conditions under which they operate. You see, it's tough. Very, very tough. So it's good that we are raising these issues. It's good to condemn these errors. But to some extent, we have to give it to them that they are trying. So what I'm encouraging them to do is that when they discover, when they carry out the investigation, let us hear, what the outcome of the investigation is. So that we now know, okay, these were the mistakes that were made, these are the people who were held responsible, this is what we did, these are the measures we are taking and putting in place to ensure it is reduced.
Okay. And Doctor, even in the middle of all this, there are still people even pushing for compensation. Now, how much in your take do you think would be able to calm the grievances of the family, grieving about this particular situation? How much do you think needs to be done?
Sincerely, it is beyond compensation. To me, it is actually beyond compensation. You see, if you lost a loved one in this kind of a tragedy, well, maybe it is good for government to say we compensate the people, but there's no amount of money that can replace the relationship that was lost. If you lost a father, you lost a mother, you lost your wife, you lost your daughter, and even if you are giving 10 million, 50 million, it cannot bring back, these ones who have died. It's good for government to compensate them, to ensure that, some losses are repaired. But I don't think that, collecting money for for this kind of tragedy.
Could the compensation come in terms of, Nigerians witnessing that the main people in charge that did these mistakes,
Okay, maybe the people who committed the error, maybe they are punished. There's the way it purifies the people and say, look, yes, at least the person who did this has been punished. Maybe, but if you talk of monetary compensation, I don't know, because I'm thinking that this kind of debt is beyond money. I don't think it's something that you say, give us money for killing our family members. I don't think it's the right thing to do. We have to just pray that it doesn't happen again. That's my own thinking.
Okay. You look at former governor of Niger State, Governor Obangida, was speaking recently, and he alluded to the fact that, he has some sort of success against Boko Haram, alluding to the fact that he chased out Boko Haram's leaders, while he was governor. And, this once again puts the spotlight on how politicians like to take all the credit and none of the blame whatsoever, even though this fact check has now clearly discredited it. What does that tell you about why we're still struggling with this problem of security? Because politicians do have their own perspective that does not necessarily align with the reality that Nigerians are faced with.
Okay, when I think he's the chief servant,
Yeah.
The chief servant, when he made that statement that he chased Shekau and Kaka away from Niger State, you know, I tried to recollect what happened then, because I was in the newsroom and we're getting reports every day. Even when Kaka was organizing press conferences, you know, Kaka would call journalists together and say, oh, come, I want to make a statement, or issue a statement and say, go and publish this and all this. I remember in that era. But what I remember is that, you see, Boko Haram was putting in effort to enter into Niger State. I can't forget that. You know, they were infiltrating Niger State. So if he said Abu Kaka, for instance, if he said Abu Kaka, then he needs to explain more. That I say, no, I chased him away. Because we saw Boko Haram, you know, not only in Maiduguri, you know, they were spreading up to Kogi State. You remember? Up to Kogi State. Maybe you don't, maybe you're not in. Up to Kogi State. We had Boko Haram attacks in Kogi State. You understand? So we saw that they were just coming in from the northeast, you know, and entering into the north central. And you see, Niger State, even up to now, you see banditry activities in Niger State, you see being escalating almost much more than what you find in the northwest. You understand? So I think that maybe he didn't tell us the whole story. Maybe he didn't tell us the whole story. But we know that Shekau, you know, he was not killed in Niger State. I think it was in a conflict in the Borno State that he died. And Abu Kaka, you know, I think he was arrested, and at the point, you know, under some circumstances he was killed, you know, in the confrontation with the military, definitely not in Niger State. So he needs to tell us the more, because the facts don't really point to what he said, that he will chase them away from Niger State.
Indeed. I mean, Doctor,
he doesn't.
People would have to pick on the copy of Daily Trust in order to read that. But yeah, because of time constraint, of course, we have to put a stop on the show this morning at this time. Thank you so much, Dr. Theophilus Appa, for joining us, Program Director of Daily Trust Foundation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for the analysis.
Thank you.
Right.